are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Utah. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie?
Let's get scary.
Okay, I do have a scary story for you.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, so do you remember how when Joe and I...
Probably not.
Oh, you might. So when Joe and I lived with my parents for a little bit, he had a sleep paralysis thing
Oh my
happen.
God, that's so long ago.
Okay, I'll recap briefly.
Okay.
We're laying in bed. I had fallen asleep. Well, I was just about to fall asleep. And then I felt something on my head.
Ugh.
Like, it felt like something tapped my forehead. And so it, like, woke me up. And I used all of my fingers to tap my forehead because I was like, okay, maybe as I was falling asleep, I, like, hit my head. No, my fingers were warm. My head, whatever tapped it, was cold.
Okay.
At the same time that I felt that, Joe had sleep paralysis.
Oh.
How his was there was a black figure that started at our door of our bedroom.
Did you know this at the time or not until you woke up the next day?
Not until we woke up the next day.
Okay.
And in his dream, something from the door came over to the foot of the bed.
Was this when you guys were upstairs or in the basement?
Upstairs.
Okay.
Thank God. If it was the basement, I would have freaked out. Coming out of all the dark corners of the basement.
True.
So it came in from the hallway, turned into a black mass, and then, like, moved up the bed and sat on his chest. And then he felt like he couldn't breathe.
Eesh.
And so during his the entire thing, he's trying to call out to me, and I'm not waking up, obviously, because he's not making noise.
Right.
So we looked that up. That's the old hag. So when you feel that pressure, it's the old hag. So we lived at one of our other places. I think it was Alexandria. He also had that same kind of old hag sensation.
I vaguely remember that one.
So 2 nights ago,
Uh-oh.
Joe was like, so I had that thing again. And I was like, what thing? He's like, I don't know, like sleep apnea. And I was like, that's when you stop breathing. And he was
so
like,
close.
He's like, what's the thing? I said, sleep paralysis. He goes, that's it.
I mean, you do kind of stop breathing, maybe?
Kind of. But so it happened again where I'm sleeping. He wakes up and he hears someone downstairs.
Ooh.
Not Roy, like a person, like something is in our house.
Yeah.
And it's walking from the front door over to our stairs.
Ooh.
And then it walks up the stairs, comes up to this little landing that we have. So how my house is set up for people who haven't been here, you walk up the stairs.
People who haven't been here.
And you immediately go straight, and that's the bathroom. You turn right, and that's the room that we're in now, our little studio room. And then you turn left, and there's like a teeny little kind of hallway, and that enters into, like, opens up into our bedroom. So he said that the thing, like, turned, walked into our bedroom, and then he saw it. Like, he couldn't turn his body because he's sleeping. He says he's trying to call out to me this whole time. Obviously, sleep paralysis,
is he like,
I'm asleep.
Is he awake or is he dreaming that he's awake and like,
it's like
or
a
like
state,
this weird in between?
It's a weird in between.
Okay.
It's where your brain is awake, but your body is not awake.
Got it.
Which is like, so you're in this weird in between.
Yeah.
And so he says he can't turn to look at the door, but he can see the shadow of this thing moving on the wall. And then he says it goes under our bed.
No.
And that's when he woke up.
Did he check under the bed?
No. I asked him, I was like, did you check under the bed? And he goes, no. Joseph, nothing can fit under our bed. Like, I will say that. Our bed, like, we have our storage under the bed, so you can't fit under it. And, like...
Only if you're a solid figure.
Yes, Mackenzie. Putting the pieces together here.
It's the same one that stole your watch. Heart rate monitor thing.
It is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's related. Who's to say? But anywho.
Who's going to put something else underneath there and really fuck with you?
You will not be welcome back. But yeah, so isn't that creepy? He hadn't had these for a while. And so we looked it up, my mom and I. And so
I was just about to say, this doesn't sound like something Joseph would accept as truth.
He told me the sleep paralysis thing.
Yes.
Him and I looked up the old hag before.
Yeah.
So when I was on the phone with my mom, we were chatting about it.
And spiraled.
No. But we tried to see what this one was called. So there's another type of sleep paralysis demon known as the intruder.
How do you know that this one's not different, is a different one?
Because it didn't sit on his chest. So the old hag is specifically one that will come in and you start to feel pressure on your chest and you feel like you can't breathe. So he's had that one twice.
Okay.
This one was not that. He didn't have the tight chest feeling. He didn't have the, like, can't breathe feeling. It was just he knew someone or something was in the house. So that one's known as the intruder.
So it sounds like something is following Joseph.
Because I did tell him when it happened at our house, I said, I've lived here for like 30 years. Okay, we moved out way before I was 30. I've lived here 25 years. I have never once had sleep paralysis. And I say, and then you come in and you have it.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think you make a very good point.
Yeah, but not from the first one. I more so mean because it's happened more than once at this point.
Yes, 3 times at least.
Yeah.
It's either been 3 or 4. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Some crystal cleansing
Yeah.
juju or something.
Yeah, we probably should cleanse.
There's probably some dark demon hanging on to him.
That's why I keep freaking telling him we need to go get his aura fluffed.
Yeah.
I think he has, like, something because, like, we've always had such good luck with traveling and, like, always just the good luck we always experience.
Well, I
That's
would
so
say
much
that that's
sarcasm.
turned around.
A little bit, knock on wood.
It's a step up from not going to actually going.
That is true. We are there. But I do think we need to get his aura cleansed because we were supposed to go to New Orleans and we were going to do it there. And then we got COVID. And then when we rescheduled it, he got sick. And then
So
we just
maybe
didn't
you're
reschedule it again.
not meant to go.
No, but maybe there's something keeping us from going. That's my thought.
Okay, well, I plugged in my dad's ear that you got to come to New Orleans. I'm not bringing Joe
No, that's okay.
because I feel like something bad's going to happen to you.
I'll scope it out. And
I'm
then
not bringing that kind of juju with me to my grandparents. They're old.
we can maybe bring some good juju back to him.
We could do that. We could go to the Voodoo Museum and they've got all sorts of, I think they're called, I don't want to say grizz. That's not right because that's how it's spelled. Gree, I think is how you say it.
Oh, that makes sense.
And there's like different kind of like talismans, for lack of a better word, for different kinds of situations.
Ooh.
So we could probably get something there.
I think we should.
That might help.
Yes.
It's weird though, I will say, and I'm not fucking with you. We've been talking about this and it's very cold. It got very cold.
Stop.
I'm not kidding. It got chilly. It's very cold right here.
Maybe that's where he hangs out.
Come feel it. It feels very cold.
I can't get up
Why not?
because I'm nervous about the cords. Okay, I'll get up.
Like it feels very cold right here. Like my breath feels cold. Doesn't it feel cold over here?
Oh my God, right here.
Hey, isn't it cold? Like up by my head? Is that the vent? Don't tell me it's the vent. Don't tell me it's the vent. Please don't tell me it's the vent.
So we have a vent? Because I was like, I don't feel it near your body. I feel it near your head. I was like, your hair's slightly moving. What is that wind? And it's
Okay, but the timing of that was really fucked.
that was.
Like, I did get chilly.
Oh my God. Well, at least maybe we can kind of rule out the demon spirit thing is not over there. Or it's just great timing. And it was over there. We just happened to see the vent.
Maybe it came in with the AC
Yeah.
to fool us into thinking we're Delulu and it was just the vent. But little do they know,
Little do they know.
we're already super Delulu. So there's no backing down now.
We have to go with it full force.
100% full throttle. Already in there. You have a ghost demon thing.
Yep. So should we jump into Utah
Sure.
to move us away from the vent?
We can try.
Okay. The Utah Black Hawk War, which raged from 1865 to 1872, was the deadliest conflict between Mormon settlers and Native American tribes in Utah's history. Led by the Ute warrior named Antonga Black Hawk, the war was sparked by rising tensions over land, dwindling resources, and broken promises made by the federal government and early Mormon leaders.
I would just like to say, for the record, that I love Native American names because they sound so cool.
Yeah, they do.
Like, imagine having Blackhawk as part of your name.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
Black Hawk and his allies, made up of Ute, Paiute, and Navajo warriors, launched a series of raids against settlers across central and southern Utah. Over the years, hundreds were killed, both settlers and native peoples alike, and the war devastated native communities. Though Black Hawk eventually surrendered, he died not long after from lingering wounds. Today, this conflict is often overshadowed in Utah history, but its legacy remains one of loss, resistance, and the brutal consequences of colonization.
So what had happened was the Mormons came in to settle, and where they were settling messed up the literal ecosystem of the Native Americans and what they used to make and grow and have food.
Naturally.
And so they became starving. And if they didn't die of starvation, they died of disease.
Ugh.
And so they started stealing their cattle. And so mainly they stole their cattle. But if it's very windy outside.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. But if, people, men, typically, it seemed like it was like white male settlers got in their way, then they would remove them.
Mm,
But because we just have to do everything a little bit extra, the settlers, not knowing who was simpatico with the cattle stealers,
mhm.
would kill anybody,
Mm.
including women and children.
Mm,
So,
good.
all because they fucked up literally an ecosystem
Yeah.
that the Native Americans used to feed themselves. I'm not saying violence is the answer, but it's good to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah. Antelope Island, located in the middle of the Great Salt Lake, may seem like a peaceful getaway today, but it has a mysterious and somber past. Indigenous tribes once roamed this island long before settlers arrived, and many believe the land holds spiritual significance. Some even say it's cursed. In the late 1800s, the island became a cattle ranch, and strange stories started to surface: unexplained deaths, voices echoing through the salty air, and the uneasy feeling of being watched. Ranchers spoke of shadows moving across the desert plains and mysterious lights dancing over the water. Some say these hauntings are tied to the island's sacred past, while others believe the isolation plays tricks on the mind. Either way, Antelope Island carries a quiet eeriness beneath its scenic beauty.
Apparently, John Baptiste was exiled there, and
He does come up, his name comes up a lot when you look up, like, Utah.
Yeah, and some people think he escaped with, he had, a shack, and they think that he escaped turning the shack into a boat.
Oh.
Years later, they found, a headless skeleton chained to something on the island, but authorities were like, well, he was never chained, so it might not be him. Regardless, people think he haunts the island.
Interesting.
Yep.
In the heart of Ogden, Utah, stands the historic Ben Lamont Hotel, now a mix of hotel and private apartments. Built in 1927, the elegant building has seen decades of guests, and not all of them checked out. It's considered one of the most haunted places in the state. The most infamous spirit is said to reside in room 1102, where a bride tragically drowned in the bathtub on her wedding night. Years later, her son died in the very same room. Guests have reported water turning on by itself, cold spots, ghostly whispers, and the distinct feeling of being watched. Other areas of the hotel are said to be haunted by former staff members and guests who never left. If you're planning on staying, maybe request a room on the lower floor, just in case. You can hear more about this hotel in our first Utah episode, episode 17. I do remember talking about this one. One of the darkest and most disturbing events in Utah's history occurred in September 1857. A wagon train of around 120 settlers from Arkansas, known as the Baker Fancher party, were traveling through Utah when it was ambushed at Mountain Meadows by a group of Mormon militia members and their Paiute allies. Tensions were already high between the Mormon community and outsiders, fueled by years of persecution and the looming threat of federal troops. Over the course of several days, the immigrants were deceived into surrendering under a promise of safe passage, only to be brutally murdered, almost all of them except for a few young children. For years, the church denied responsibility, blaming only the native participants.
Shocked.
Yeah. It wasn't until much later that the full horror of the cover-up came to light. Today, Mountain Meadows is a somber memorial site, a place where the silence is heavy with sorrow and the weight of an unspeakable betrayal. I covered this one.
You did?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's probably our second Utah episode. Second or third. I think it's our third.
Normally, I'm good about putting in. I looked at all the things. Our third Utah episode, you did John Doyle Lee.
Yeah. I think he was part of this.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't connect the two.
Ah, so what episode number was that one?
That would be 162.
So yeah, 162. During World War II, in the remote deserts of Utah near the town of Delta, the U.S. government built the Topaz War Relocation Center, one of 10 internment camps used to imprison Japanese Americans. Over 11,000 people, most of them U.S. citizens, were forcibly removed from their homes and communities on the West Coast and made to live in harsh, barren conditions behind barbed wire and guarded towers. Life at Topaz was filled with dust storms, freezing winters, and constant surveillance. Despite the injustice, many internees tried to create a sense of normalcy, organizing schools, newspapers, and even art programs. The camp closed in 1945, but the trauma lingered for generations. Today, Topaz is a powerful reminder of how fear and racism can lead to grave violations of civil rights, even in the so-called land of the free. You covered another internment camp.
Heart Mountain.
Right, we talked about that.
Wyoming.
Yep, there we go. Once a thriving railroad town nestled in Spanish Fort Canyon, Thistle met a watery and sudden end in 1983 when a massive landslide dammed the nearby river. What, the wind?
Yeah.
I know. It has gusts of 60 miles per hour
Oh,
today.
lovely.
Creating an enormous lake that submerged the entire town. The disaster unfolded over just a few days, but the damage was irreversible. Homes, schools, and businesses were swallowed up by the rising waters, leaving behind eerie remnants of rooftops and chimneys peeking through the surface. Some locals claim the land was cursed, pointing to a history of tragedies, including fatal train derailments and mysterious deaths in the area. Thistle is now a ghost town, accessible only by back roads and known for its haunting stillness. It serves as a chilling reminder that even entire communities can disappear overnight.
Imagine you were swimming, not knowing that there's an entire town underneath you, and you're just kicking your feet and you like touch a roof or something.
That'd be so creepy.
Yeah, I would freak out.
There's another lake we covered. Oh my goodness.
We cover a lot of lakes.
I think it's up north. I can't remember what it is, but it's the same thing where there was a whole town that was underwater and it's like cursed and people hear and see all crazy things.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I don't know. We cover a lot of lakes.
I know. I can't remember what it's called. Lake something.
Lake something. Thank you.
I know people are like screaming the name, and I know when I edit this, it's going to pop into my head. But right now, it's just not there.
Well, maybe whenever we do get to that state and it comes up, then we can refer back to whatever episode
Okay.
it was.
Yeah.
If I remember.
What is the dang lake?
Would you like me to go through?
No, because we didn't cover it.
Oh, we didn't cover it.
No.
Oh.
You know what? We're just gonna
do a quick Google.
Oh. Lake Lanier.
We did cover that.
Did we?
I'm pretty sure.
If we haven't covered it, we've definitely mentioned it. I think we have, actually. I think you're right.
Usually am. We definitely have done Lake Lanier. I don't know where it is, but I know we did it.
Look up Georgia.
That is not the north.
Nope, it's not.
Ay.
But I think it was Georgia.
Found it.
Was it Lake Lanier?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
In Georgia.
What episode?
7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so episode 7.
There you go.
That's why I couldn't remember because it was so long ago.
Yep. And again, not in the north.
No. Nope, not in the north.
Quite literally the exact opposite.
Yep.
And on the other side of the country than where we're talking about right now.
Not nearby at all.
Nope.
Not nearby at all.
That's okay.
Thank you.
What's spooky to your porn, Lauren?
I got a haunted thing for us today.
I figured since it was a hotel.
It's a hospital, thank you.
That too.
Oh, damn it. I should have looked up how to say this name.
Looks like Old Tooele. Tooele.
It's like Cruella. Tooele.
But Tooele.
The Old Tooele Hospital, located in Utah, may not only be one of the most haunted places in Utah, but it may also be the scariest place in Utah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That'll make sense as I get into my story.
Aren't all haunted places scary?
No.
I beg to differ.
You might not be the best judge of that. The Old Tooele Hospital was built in 1873 as a residence for Samuel F. Lee and his family.
Was one of his daughters named Elle? Or
No.
Ellie?
He didn't name the town.
Oh, you said town.
So it's called the Old Tooele Hospital.
Yeah.
But it's in Tooele, Utah.
Oh, okay.
How it got its name.
Dang. How clever would that have been? Tooele. And then it just became Tooele.
That would have been cute, but no. It was just named Tooele.
Darn.
By 1913, it had been converted into a residence for the elderly and was known as the County Poorhouse.
Oof.
But soon the population of Utah, and specifically Tooele, began to grow, and residents and administrators started to realize that this building could be used for much, much more than it was currently being used for. So soon enough, in 1953, it was converted to a hospital. But not surprising to anyone, they never received adequate funding.
When was the hospital built?
It converted in 1953, but it was built in, like, this building as a whole was built in 1873.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, wait a minute, how did we jump to the 1900s? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
so
with you.
it's just like kind of what it's been used for throughout the years.
Got it.
So with its bad funding, residents had to share a community bathroom, and there was no appropriate care. They weren't even able to construct a morgue. What are you supposed to do in a hospital that has no morgue?
I feel like that's essential.
You would think. Well, Tooele's solution was to stack the bodies in an unrefrigerated room.
Unrefrigerated?
Until the county coroner was able to come and sign their death certificates. And then they would be buried in a large plot in the backyard.
That's so gross.
Not great. A new building was also built that year in 1953 and was originally known as the Tooele Army Depot. This building was built more in a way to ensure that residents could receive proper medical care, and with this, at one point, it was hailed as a state-of-the-art facility.
Mm-hmm.
Then half of the newer constructed building operated as a senior living facility. And like I said, the cemetery is also located just adjacent to this new building.
Lovely.
With half of the building remaining as a now abandoned hospital, the other half was converted into Asylum 49,
Oh.
a haunted house attraction which opens and operates around Halloween.
Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yes, what?
They built an additional building.
Yeah.
For this state-of-the-art hospital.
Uh-huh.
And then they gave half of that away to house the elderly.
Yeah.
And the other half went to be a haunted...
Is it an attraction?
No longer a functioning hospital.
Correct.
Is the other building, the bigger one, still being used?
I'm not sure. That was hard to find. So I know that the one that was the senior living and then became like a hospital, so half of Asylum 49,
Yeah.
was in operation until at least 2015.
Okay.
I couldn't tell up until now. Nothing told me if it was still operational.
Okay.
But
it is a separate building from the original one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kind of like a wing, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And when did it start becoming a haunted house attraction? What year? 2015?
No, I'll continue on with my next bullet and that will tell you.
Okay.
In 2006.
Oh. Okay.
A man named Kim Anderson saw the building and wanted to create the haunted attraction. So this is what he and his wife, Cammie Anderson, did. But before he really started on the construction of Asylum 49, he was told countless times about the true hauntings of the building, but being a skeptic, he didn't believe them.
And meanwhile, on the other half of this building...
is a functional hospital.
Just for the elderly or...
I think at this point it's just a hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a hospital on one side.
Or it could be just for the elderly. I think it's a hospital. Maybe with an elderly. I think it could be a combo.
Okay. So on one side, functioning hospital, possibly for the elderly.
Yes.
On the other side, a haunted hospital.
Yeah. Asylum 49. Okay, we good?
I'm with you so far.
So he and his wife spent countless hours in the building constructing the attraction, and soon enough, he had enough experiences that made him a true believer. They said that at first nothing was happening, then they started to experience some strange and unexplained things. Objects would move from one place to another, voices and other sounds would be heard when no one else was on the property. They have gotten EVPs, have seen doors open and close, have seen apparitions, and Cammie even once spoke to one of these apparitions.
Do you happen to have, or know, like square footage, like how big each half was?
I have no idea.
No idea? Okay.
No idea. Cammie and Kim then had some paranormal investigation teams come to explore the property. One team said that the hospital is haunted, quote, with a staggering amount of evidence.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So I wanted to go into a little bit about this haunted attraction.
Okay.
So Asylum 49.
Haunted attraction.
Haunted attraction.
Yeah.
Asylum 49 is one of Utah's few full contact haunted attractions.
You mean they can touch you?
Uh-huh. Participants.
You would have to put me in an asylum after going through that.
Oh, I'll get into it. Don't you worry. So participants have to sign a waiver to allow themselves to be touched by the cast of the haunted house.
Nope.
Quote, you will be touched, may be carried off by the doctors, and may be separated from your group, says Cammie. It is very intense and not recommended for children, adults who don't like being scared, pregnant women, or physically or mentally impaired individuals. Come prepared to be scared and to have fun with it. Full contact isn't for everyone, so if you can't handle the intensity, we would rather you not come. End quote.
Picked up?
Yes. Like the doctors could pick you up and bring you somewhere else, away from your group.
I hate it when live, normal people who are my friends pick me up.
How often are you picked up?
Enough times that I hate being picked up. I hate it. I don't like being lifted. I don't like nothing. I don't like being picked up. I said
you want your feet firmly on the ground.
I love the ground. It is a great fucking place to be. I don't want you to pick me up. I don't want nothing.
Nothing.
It's already bad enough you might touch me, which, okay, question.
Yeah.
Thinking, they can touch you. What if?
No, you cannot touch them.
Okay, but you're reactive. What if you naturally whack them? I think that they should sign a waiver that they don't sue the patrons. Because as someone who is physically reactive when they are
But
startled.
see, that's why they also said adults who don't like being scared.
Okay, but what if you like being scared, but you're just a reactive, scared person?
I don't know.
Or like maybe you think you like being scared and you go through it
And you realize you hate it.
and you realize you like being scared, but just not touched and scared.
Well, there are 4 different levels of contact you can choose from. So 1 is no contact. The only thing that touches you is fear itself. That's from their website. Number 2 is light contact. The actors will just barely reach out to touch you.
Just a little tap on the shoulder.
So this is Markoff's, which is like the haunted forest in Maryland. We went there, and one of the rooms, there's like a laser kind of like grid above, so you can't see below as you're walking through this room. And that's one of the rooms where the actors can't touch you. So they like tap your ankles as you're walking through. It was actually so creepy. It was so cool though. Then we have 3, grip of the unknown. That didn't give me a description, so I can't tell you what that is. But
I'm
I think
assuming
it's just, yeah, I think they can grab you, but it's not full. And then DOA. I don't know what that stands for either.
dead on arrival.
Oh. So that's the 4th one. So this one goes, quote, step into a nightmare where you become part of the horror. There is no escape, only survival. You will enjoy private entry into the haunt and a personal escort by your very own psychiatric doctor. You will gain exclusive access to the doctor's office where your mental torture begins. Additional rules apply.
Mental torture.
So this one includes mental and physical torture with the doctor.
Oh.
A coffin ride. So you can go into a coffin.
So these are for people who are like masochists.
It's like that thing that was in California. Why am I forgetting all the things? McAfee. No, that's the security system.
Yeah. I remember, like, yeah.
So it's similar to that.
Like extreme
horror and torture.
Your
and
like eyes
waivers.
are covered and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this one includes, like we said, mental and physical torture. So the coffin ride is where you literally are put into a coffin, pitch black, very dark, very quiet. So it's like you're in a coffin. Then there's the arachnophobia and pherophobia mini haunts. So obviously we know what arachnophobia is. And pherophobia, like pharaohs. I looked,
like Egyptian pharaohs?
That's how it's spelt. And so I looked up to see if that meant something specific. It's not a real term.
Oh, good.
There's no online definition, but on their website it shows like pharaoh things and mummies and stuff.
So probably like snakes and shit.
Like Egyptian, all of that stuff. So those are mini haunts you can do. There's also a museum of horrors. So, quote, Asylum 49's Museum of Horrors showcases never-before-seen artifacts for fans of dark, haunted, and medical history. See equipment original to the haunted hospital, serial killer memorabilia, human bones, early 1900s artifacts, and much more.
I would do that.
This is a rare opportunity to visit the famous Asylum 49 Green Mile, which is closed to visitors of the Asylum 49 haunted hospital. I would do this one, too.
I would do the museum.
So some of the things they have are uranium glasses, the Oddfellows disguise. I'm not really sure what that is, but it's like a mesh face mask. Human skulls, a creepy voodoo doll made by Asakin Johnson, a.k.a. the Shakara Cannibal. So the dolls were made from his blood, bodily fluids, and some of his soul. But they spelled soul S-O-L-E.
Okay.
There are also photos that Charles P. Poole, the mortician and coroner who investigated the deaths, had taken. And down at the bottom where you can buy tickets for this place, it says, buy a ticket, you chicken. So I had read someone's experience who went here. So he did the full contact. And he
like level 4?
Yeah, level 4. He didn't write too much about it, but one of the things that he said he did was you walked in immediately, and I can't remember what they did, but next thing he knew, a bag was placed over his head, and he was pulled onto a gurney and strapped down onto the gurney and taken out of that room. And then he gets out, and he's like in this like meat room, like a freezer kind of thing, and these really pretty women grab his hand and start leading him away from his group into another room, and that was like creepy stuff too. He didn't really speak more on that part, but not for me.
I can imagine being picked up and initially screaming, but depending on how long I'm picked up for, I'm eventually going to start laughing.
I don't think it's very long. I think it's just enough to like be scared.
See, I wonder too if anyone's sense of fear is slightly altered because they know they're going to be afraid or they know they're going to be purposefully scared or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure with this one. I know the other one, the bad one, they had like a safety word, and even if you screamed it, like they wouldn't respect it.
Hmm.
This place, it seems a little different, but I don't know. They put on their website, it's on their waivers, it's on their website. It's literally everywhere. If you are pregnant, do not go through this. If you have mental disabilities, do not go through this. If you are physically disabled, do not go through this. If you have a crutch or a cast, do not go through.
Yeah, because they're afraid you're going to whack somebody with your cast.
Absolutely no smoking, Mackenzie. They said that probably 15 different times that you cannot smoke.
You know, there's just a lot of things that bring me joy. And there's a lot of things that
I don't think they
know.
mean that kind of smoking.
Oh, well, then why'd you say Mackenzie?
Oh, because you're the only person in this room.
Oh.
And I needed to emphasize the importance.
I thought you were trying to say something.
Nope. I just really needed to emphasize no smoking here.
Okay. Well, I would go to the museum.
I would too. I think the museum would be pretty cool.
Yeah. But that's it.
So Cammie said that they try to keep the hospital separate from Asylum 49, but that doesn't always happen.
Wait, what?
She tries to keep the hospital separate from Asylum 49. Like keep like the hospital is the hospital and Asylum 49 is the haunted attraction. She said, quote, "Our spirits don't always follow the rules and have been known to lead unwary customers into dead ends and get them lost in the mazes. Oftentimes, they don't even know they just met a ghost."
Wait. Hold on.
So hospital's haunted. Asylum 49 is here. They didn't want
The regular in-function hospital is haunted.
Yes.
Okay.
Asylum 49, they didn't want it to be haunted, but it just kind of gets the hauntings from the
Residual?
hospital. Yeah, right next to it.
And you could possibly be let off by a ghost.
Yep.
Because I'm imagining being led off in a direction and getting lost and looking at whoever took me there and be like, you fucking idiot.
And then they disappear.
Well, then that would freak me out. But if they didn't disappear, I'd be like, whole experience ruined. You got us lost. Good job, buddy.
Or that's the thing, to scare you for now you're lost in a maze.
Yeah, I'd probably spend the rest of the time trying to figure out if we were actually lost or if they were fucking with me. But still, I like to think things in comedic terms, so they're less scary.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be that way there.
We're never going to find out.
We will never find out. She said that they have plenty of evidence that there are both residual and intellectual hauntings that occur. So a residual is one that like goes over time. Like if in life they would always tend to the fire. Now their ghost is always tending to a fire. It's like the residual hauntings.
Okay.
Intelligent or you can communicate with them.
Got it.
Yeah. Asylum 49 has been voted as the second scariest haunted house attraction in Utah. Some people feel that the haunted house is a slap in the face, though, to the people who died at the facility, but staff ensure that the actual ghosts are well respected and understood.
Okay. Let people have their creativity. Like, you don't have to go.
Right.
And if anything, I was just thinking, I was like, I would love to be a spirit at a haunted house or a haunted attraction because I'll fit right fucking in.
Yeah, it would be really fun.
Yeah.
Though the building serves as a haunted house attraction, there are real haunts that took place at Asylum 49 / the attached hospital.
Okay, are we talking? Are you going to decipher between which of these haunts was in the hospital versus the?
I think so.
Okay.
So first off, apparently the hospital has a reputation for the number 3. It is said that the patients in the active wing of the hospital passed away in groups of 3. So when one patient dies, it was expected that 2 more would follow in short succession.
Well, they do say everything happens in 3s.
Right. And then it's also a play off of like the Holy Trinity. That's why the devil's number is 666, because it's double of the Holy Trinity.
Oh. I
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah. So apparently Kim Anderson keeps up with this 3 somehow in his Asylum 49. I don't know how, but he kind of, knowing that the reputation is with the number 3, he plays that into this asylum as well.
All jokes aside, this sounds very creative.
Yeah, it really does.
You know, and kudos to them for that.
Yeah. So some of the main ghosts we have here are Wes the ghost.
Wes?
Yeah.
W-E-S?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So Wes was believed to be a patient when the hospital was an elderly care facility. It is believed that he also suffered from Alzheimer's. This part is really sad, but at the time of his death, he was very confused and very scared, so it's believed that his strong energy lingered when he passed. He's usually reported inside and outside of the room that he stayed in while he was living at the building. A medium once came to the hospital to attempt to help him cross over, but they had no success.
Mm.
This medium discovered that there was an entity that stays very close to Wes when he is in the hallway. This entity is described as being very dark. This dark entity usually appears around the witching hour, so 3 a.m., again, on the number 3, and is said to be very terrifying. Then we have Sam Lee himself. So Samuel lived here with his family at the very beginning and contributed to his community in many ways, like good ways. So it's not super surprising that he still lingers around.
I wonder what he thinks.
About the haunted house?
Yeah.
I don't know. He is known to talk to visitors, telling
then
them...
he must like it.
Well, he more so tells them what he did during his life. Like all the great things he did during his life.
So he loves it.
Probably, yeah.
If he's able to talk about himself all the time.
He wants recognition for his good deeds.
Oh, yeah, he fucking loves it.
And then his 7-year-old son, Thomas, is usually seen lingering alongside his dad. Thomas is a very playful spirit who likes guests and loves to play pranks on visiting tourists. So, yeah, they'd like this place.
Yeah.
Then we have Maria and the portal. So Maria is a lady in white, but more specifically, a nurse in white. Her main goal in the afterlife seems to be guarding a portal that has reportedly been seen at the facility.
Okie dokie.
This portal is very bright and formed in the hospital as a way to direct the deceased to the afterlife.
That's nice.
When the building was an elderly care facility, many people would speak about seeing this portal just days before they passed. But this nurse would warn the patients to avoid the portal as the other side was dangerous.
Well, that's not nice.
She never elaborated on the dangers, just warned people about it. The existence and meaning of a portal is debated in the spiritual community. Some people say that portals exist all around us, but they are mainly in areas where multiple deaths have occurred, say, like at a hospital.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Clarification. What kind of portal are we talking about here? Portal to another world?
I think it's like portal to the afterlife, but in this particular sentence that I'm talking about, it's just like portals. Like, not to another world, not to, like, it could be like to the afterlife, to another plane of existence. Kind of, it's going to bring you somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. So others say that the portals house entities who come to claim spirits after their physical body dies, maybe leading them to the afterlife. So one story that seems to corroborate the second theory of an entity coming to help lead people to the afterlife. So a man in black was once seen entering the room of a patient. A nurse noticed and took note. It was well past visiting hours, so she went to find the man to tell him that visiting hours were over and he would have to come back the next day. When she reached the room of the patient where she saw the man enter, the door was locked. It shouldn't be locked. She called for a few other nurses in an attempt to try to open it. It was actually a struggle, but they eventually got the door open. Another article said they actually had to have maintenance come and remove the door from its hinges. But when they looked in the room, the man in black was nowhere to be seen, and the patient was now deceased. Some believe this man in black came to take the patient to the afterlife.
But they didn't have cameras.
I know! Too long ago to have cameras in the hospital.
Yeah.
So we have a ton of other hauntings. Those are like our main ghosts. So now these are just the other things that people have experienced coming to the hospital. And
the hospital or the attraction?
And like the attraction. But
because I feel like there's an important distinct difference.
Most of these are the hospital.
That sucks.
I will talk about the attraction a little bit, but most of these are the hospital. So
I would hate to be trying to just die in peace and be haunted.
So some of the names of other spirits include Richard, James, Ned, Peter, and Jessica, who seems to be a young child.
So fucking basic.
I know. And so specific, too. The spirits like to make themselves known to visitors, and they do this through disembodied voices, cold touches, and apparitions. Shadow figures have been seen moving down the halls. People have seen ghosts poking their heads out of rooms, and patients walking down the hallways. There have also been reports of visitors seeing a shadow figure crawling on the ceiling.
If I'm an old person and I'm here, I'm just assuming I'm senile.
So Carrie Anderson said that she and some of her employees were walking down a hallway of Asylum 49. She said she felt like someone was walking behind them, and thinking it was just another one of her employees, she turned around to look. Instead, she said that she saw a black figure behind her that then crawled up onto the ceiling.
So she was in the haunted attraction and felt like someone was watching her?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
I know.
So dumb.
Full body apparitions of a woman in white and a male figure believed to be a former doctor or orderly are seen around the building. I had my mouse over former and I couldn't tell what the word was. A phantom nurse who walks the halls is often reported, but she will disappear when she's approached. Some believe she is the former employee who loved her job and just never left.
Damn. Couldn't be me.
I know, like, still working after you're dead? No.
Like, I do love my job.
Like, no, thank you.
Take that back. I love what I do.
Enough to be there in the afterlife?
Nope.
Some nurses claim that patients would say that a nurse in white had already tended to them when the on-duty nurse came to do their rounds, but the nurses no longer wear white, and the patient hadn't been attended to by any of the living nurses.
That's good for clarification purposes.
Thank you.
I mean, for the nurses to change colors.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, if you're
Well, because they wear scrubs now. Because if you think about it, old-timey nurses wore, like, the white dress, the white hat, all of that stuff.
You can
Nurses
still have a white
nowadays wear
scrub.
scrubs.
I guess scrubs are mostly blue, aren't they?
No, they can be any color. They can be fun prints. They can be anything.
Well, and, like, you see in, like, movies and stuff, like, orderlies are wearing white.
This is a hospital now. They don't have orderlies.
Well, isn't it technically orderlies work at hospitals? Just psychiatric ones?
This is like a health hospital with nurses who wear scrubs.
I think you can't have orderlies at those hospitals, too?
No, you wouldn't.
Like, not even, like, people that just, like, help out? Because, like, you have, like, the nurses.
That's not really a thing anymore.
Well, like, you usually have, like, 2 nurses. You have the nurse that, like, gives you, like, medications and stuff.
I'm just telling you, at this hospital, none of the nurses are going to be wearing white.
And I'm saying that's good because that could be very confusing to the patients.
It could be Mackenzie.
You know, that's good on them for deciding to change. Probably because they needed to make sure that they really didn't give them
Multiple
dosage.
medication.
Like, are you being delusional or did a nurse really come and do this already?
Right. Guests have also reported seeing orbs and mist, and people often report having a very strong and intense feeling of being watched, like we said.
In the hospital or in the haunted attraction? Because the distinctions are important.
Both.
Okay, well, only one of those seems legitimate.
Some people have even claimed that they have blacked out or have felt overtaken by a presence. One guest reportedly collapsed during a ghost tour, so the ghost tour was in the hospital. They then
Wait, pause. Did you just say the ghost tour was in the hospital?
Yeah.
This hospital that tends to patients gives ghost tours?
See, what I'm thinking is it probably isn't around anymore. In 2015, it was operational.
Okay.
But I'm going to guess in those 10 years, it's no longer operational.
Okay.
Because it does offer ghost tours.
Because that would be insane.
I know.
And I think unsanitary?
Probs.
Okay.
So we're probably no longer working.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
That's also a very important
I know. Yeah,
distinction.
it is. So one guest reportedly collapsed during a ghost tour. They then began speaking in a distorted voice, claiming to be someone else entirely.
That would piss me off if I was on a ghost tour.
Ma'am, can you stop taking all the attention?
Exactly. I'm like, we're not here for you. That's annoying.
Stop. Afterwards, that person had no memory of what had just happened. People have heard children's laughter, crying, and even growls. People have reported hearing a woman in labor screaming. A rumor says
How can there be a woman in labor if it's old ladies that have been there?
It's also a hospital.
I thought it was a hospital for old people.
No. It was at a time for old people, and now it's just a hospital.
You said maybe for old people.
Well, old people are probably there. You can't discriminate old people from coming into the hospital. So, a rumor says that the night shift nurse would put a TV set to static in one of the empty delivery rooms.
Why?
To drown out the ghostly noise of women screaming.
I guess that's better.
Yeah. When the hospital served as a home for senior residents, see, I'm distinguishing for you. They would report seeing little children in the building when children were not in the building. Hauntingly, the ghostly children were a sign that someone in the senior resident home was about to pass away, usually the person who actually saw them. But it is also believed that these children are not actually children, but were in fact demons, because that's a thing that demons like to do.
Okay, you went from, wow, that sounds lovely, to, that sounds really terrible.
I know. There is also a child still reported as being seen. She made an appearance during the Halloween haunted house as well, and visitors have claimed that she follows them through the maze before disappearing.
Is the ghost tour part of the...
I'm not sure.
Or is it
I
two
could not find
separate?
any clarification for that.
Hmm.
Apparently, someone heard a disembodied child's voice say, "Daddy, shoot, sorry." The Utah Ghost Organization, so it's a paranormal investigation group,
Mhm.
They claim these words came from the ghost of a child who was accidentally shot by their father. That's sad. Don't have a gross look on your face.
Oh, I'm just imagining Daddy, oh shoot.
I know. That's and then, sorry. The temperature will suddenly drop and EMFs will suddenly spike. There is a room that apparently is home to a male spirit. The spirit will scream and rage. People just walking by this room report a tightness in their chest and extreme anxiety. A group went investigating and went into the conference room. So they're in the hospital investigating. So hospital totally is not operational anymore.
It can't be.
It can't be.
Like,
sorry for your meeting. We're just going to be in here for a little bit.
Excuse us.
They had a sensitive in the group with them. And the sensitive said that the room they were in was where the staff would tell family members about the death of their loved ones, and that the feeling of that in the room was very intense. The K2 was going wild in this room when one of the investigators was asking questions, and the person asking those questions started to feel a pressure in their chest. Something indicated that it wanted the investigators to leave the room, so they took the hint and left.
Good for them.
That was how it was when we were investigating this one house. And we had a ball in the room for a little girl, like girl ghost. And I was like, okay, if you don't want us in the room, like shake the ball. And it like shook a little. And I was like, that could totally have been the breeze from like this old house. And I said, if you don't want us to like really shake the ball, that thing shook. And I said, bye. And I booked it out of the room. Everyone else like slowly gathered their stuff. No,
Nope.
I was out. So apparently an exorcism took place during a paranormal investigation, but it was a success.
Okay.
The article I read, one article said this, and it was one sentence, and that was it.
Okie dokie.
Poltergeist activity has been reported in room 6, and someone added 2 more 6s to the end of the room, so now it's room 666.
Clever.
People have also reported hearing the sound of scratches in this room. Asylum 49 openly invites paranormal investigators to conduct overnight stays and investigate the building, both the asylum and, I guess, the hospital. They also offer a lights out tour where you can explore the building in total darkness.
No, thank you.
And due to its creepy nature, the Old Tooele Hospital has been used as the background for a couple movies and films. The true story of Burt Munro, the fastest Indian, was filmed here, as well as The Stand, Stephen King's post-apocalyptic fantasy.
So a guy who wrote scary books that turned into scary movies?
Yup. Ghost Adventures and Paranormal Witness have also come here to investigate. So that is the Old Tooele, that one, hospital.
Sounds
/
like-
Asylum 49.
Sounds like a great place. I'm never going to go.
Yeah, I don't want to go here either. I could do the no contact haunted house, and I could also do the very light contact haunted house. Anything more than that's not for me.
After knowing that now the hospital's not operational and is used as ghost tours, so like the whole building is like haunted, like the double haunt we got going on, I don't even think I'm going to go to the museum.
They did not bring up anything haunted about the museum,
Is the
though.
museum in the building?
Yes.
All right, then.
But it's like,
2 + 2 = 4.
yeah. Yeah. And like, ew. I will send you the picture.
Thank
if we
you.
don't want to put it on our Instagram, of the voodoo doll.
I don't want to see
It's so freaking creepy. And when I was writing the description of it, so on the website, it has like pictures of all the things that they show, some of the things that they show at the museum. And under it's like a little description. And so as I'm reading the description for the creepy voodoo doll, you can keep looking at it. I'm like, I hate this.
I don't want to see it.
Well, I want you to see it. Because if I have to see it, you do too.
Well, what if you show me instead of send it to me?
I could do that.
Okay.
I'll show you so that it's not on your phone ever again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, haunted hospital.
That sounds like a very creepy place that they turned into a very creepy place.
Double the creepy places.
Double creepy.
All right, Mackenzie, what tale are you spinning today?
Today marks the 3rd and final installment in our series on the Great Basin Murders.
Wild.
We began this journey in Wyoming, where the first known victim of the so-called Great Basin Killer was discovered. From there, we traveled through Nevada, uncovering more victims and exploring lesser-known cases that may be connected to this disturbing pattern. Now we turn our focus to Utah, where we'll close out the series by examining victims found there and taking a closer look at the individuals suspected of committing one or more of these chilling crimes.
And I correct myself. I am able to listen to you right now without playing anything on my phone.
Because it's a good story.
Yeah. And because I'm watching you. And
it's like a conversation. Like you're kind of involved in it.
Yeah.
So reminder, there is a trigger warning. This story contains sensitive topics such as sexual assault and rape, so please consider before listening. This week, we continue our journey through the chilling cases known collectively as the Great Basin Murders, this time stopping in the haunting deserts of Nevada. Picking up where we left off in Wyoming, we examined the mysterious deaths of women found discarded along highways, each case sparked by brutality, secrecy, and a frustrating lack of answers. In Nevada, we focused on the 1993 case of the Elko County Jane Doe, a young woman found nude and posed in a cross-like manner in a remote area, with signs of sexual assault and a single gunshot to the heart. Isotope testing later suggested she had spent significant time in Wyoming before her death, possibly linking her case to others in the series. Despite numerous leads, including usable fingerprints, her identity, like so many others, remains a mystery. We also revisited the tragic story of Tanya Teskey, a 21-year-old woman from Wyoming whose body was discovered in Idaho in 1997, just days after she was last seen with an older man.
Mm-hmm.
She was later found nude with stab wounds that resembled an ice pick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beyond the official list, Nevada has several other eerily similar cases. The oldest is the 1972 Star Valley Jane Doe, found just 50 miles from the Elko County Jane Doe, and posed in a nearly identical manner. Then there's Tammy Terrell, known for decades as the Arroyo Grande Jane Doe, who was finally identified in 2021 through forensic genealogy. Her brutal murder in 1980 remains unsolved. These cases, along with the disappearance of Amy Batchel in Wyoming and the murder of Nicole Bacolis in Utah, highlight a disturbing pattern. Young, often transient women meeting violent ends along desolate western highways.
Yup.
While not all are officially part of the Great Basin Murders, the similarities are too striking to ignore. As we piece together these stories, the lines between coincidence and connection began to blur. Are these the work of a single serial predator using the vast highways of the West as a hunting ground, or the result of multiple killers exploiting the same vulnerable landscape? This week, I will unwrap. I'm not unwrapping anything. I'm wrapping it up. This week, I will wrap up this 3-part series with a deep dive into the cases that unfold in Utah. We'll revisit victims, explore possible suspects, and examine whether any forensic breakthroughs could finally bring justice to these women and closure to the haunting mystery of the Great Basin Murders. So, a reminder of our timeline. 1983, we have Janelle Johnson in Wyoming. In 1988, we have Lisa Marie Kimmel from Wyoming. In 1989, Vicki Perkins from Utah, which we'll talk about today. 1990 is Patricia Candace Walsh from Utah. 1991 is Barbara Williams from Utah. And 1991 is also Ermelinda Garza.
We have a guy in there?
No, she's a girl.
Oh, Robert?
I said Barbara.
I totally heard Robert.
Barbara.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Maybe if you heard it, others heard it. Barbara.
Okay.
And then Ermelinda Garza. So those are the Utah cases we'll be talking about today. We have Bitter Creek Betty from Wyoming, and then Elko County John Doe in Nevada from 1993, and Tanya Teskey from Idaho in 1997, plus the other 4 that we talked about at the end. We have one from 1972, Star Valley Jane Doe. We have one from 1980, that's Tammy. Amy was 1997, and Nicole was 2000.
Just so you know, she didn't look at any notes for that. That was really impressive.
Thank you. Sometimes I'm on it. Also, when you do this for 3 weeks straight.
Right. You kind of get an idea of the case.
You get it in your head. As we arrive in Utah, the final stop in our journey through the Great Basin Murders, we find ourselves facing more stories of women whose lives ended far too soon under violent, mysterious circumstances. Each case brings its own heartbreaking details, and while some questions have been answered, many still linger in the shadows of the vast Utah wilderness. Our first victim is Vicki Perkins. By 1989, Vicki was just 19 years old and had been living on the streets of Portland, Oregon. She was a sex worker and often relied on truck drivers for rides, frequently hitchhiking to get where she needed to go. In March of that year, she attended a party and told friends that she planned to head to California. Instead, she was last seen alive in Green River, Utah. 2 months later, her body was found face up in a drainage ditch at a rest stop along I-70, just 20 miles from where she was last seen. She was nude, had no possessions, and due to advanced stages of decomposition, her exact cause of death couldn't be confirmed.
And how long after she was last seen to when she was found?
Give me a second. That I don't have off the top of my head, and I need to look in the other one.
Because I'm just wondering how long it was for there to be advanced stages.
Huh. You know, I don't think I ever put her date.
Oh.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. She went missing in March. She was discovered in May.
Oh.
Of that year.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Well, and she was also in a drainage ditch, so the water might have.
Yeah. Sped up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
However, evidence at the scene, blood, fluids, and clumps of hair suggested a violent attack, and investigators suspected strangulation. They also believed her killer had done this before, but like so many of the women tied to the case, Vicki's murder remains unsolved. Just 1 year later, in October of 1990, the partially decomposed body of a woman was found by deer hunters in Millard County, Utah. She was discovered at the top of a steep incline off I-15, exposed to the elements for what investigators believed to be 4 to 6 months.
Mm.
She was nude and appeared posed, arms outstretched in the shape of a cross, legs slightly parted, and one braid of her hair carefully laid across her face.
So is this the third one we have in the shape of a cross?
That we've talked about, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm. She had been shot 4 times in the head and neck with .22 caliber bullets. Bullets so unusual that lab techs and investigators said they'd never seen them before.
What?
The bullets had been discontinued in 1970 and had a T-shaped head stamp on the bottom, or which is at the bottom of the cartridge. A barbed wire fence separated the road from the body, leading investigators to believe she may have voluntarily walked to the location before her death. For 13 years, she remained unidentified, known only as Jane Doe 1. But in 2003, thanks to dental records and DNA, she was identified as 24-year-old Patricia Candy Walsh. Or Candace, but she went by Candy.
Yeah.
Her killer's DNA had been recovered from her body, and that same year it was matched to a man named Robert Ben Rhodes. Candy's story is particularly tragic. In November of 1989, she and her husband, Douglas Zykowski, had been hitchhiking from Seattle to attend a religious convention in Georgia. Along the way, they caught a ride with Rhodes, a long-haul trucker. Zykowski's body was found in early 1990 in Texas, but he wouldn't be identified until 1992. Candy was kept captive in the cab of Rhodes' truck for over a week, where she was tortured and sexually assaulted before being murdered and dumped in Utah.
Oh my God.
Rhodes would eventually be convicted of 3 murders, which we'll go over later,
Okay.
but authorities believe he could be responsible for many more. In March 1991, another body was found off I-15 near Mills Exit, still in Utah. A nude woman had been shot 8 times in the head with a .25 caliber handgun. She had been dead 2 to 4 weeks and was initially known only as Jane Doe 2. Investigators noted signs that she had been dragged by the ankles and left under sagebrush, though it is unclear if she had been deliberately posed.
Mm-hmm.
She had a tattoo on her shoulder that read, "Howell's Heartthrob."
Oh.
It wasn't until 1999 that her identity was confirmed as Barbara Williams, a missing woman from Florida. A cold case investigator had recognized the tattoo and contacted Utah authorities. Her husband, Hal Williams, was arrested and later convicted of her murder.
I was wondering where the howl came from. Like if it was a person, if they were going to look into said person.
Yeah. Because of the location and circumstances, Barbara was initially linked to the Great Basin cases, but her husband was not suspected in any other related killings. So I say take her off the list. But
yeah,
she's
no,
still
I would
there.
agree too. That's what I think is so odd about this case is they have so many people who like potentially are connected to someone else, but they're all like under this whole like umbrella.
Yeah. And there's some that I'm like, okay, that one's solved, and then they're suspected of other ones on the list, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there's some that are solved that has no suspicion for anything else. And I'm like, well, so then they shouldn't be on the list.
Right.
But I digress. And then there's Irma Linda Garza, sometimes known as Linda. She was 32 years old and had been staying at the Paradise Inn in Las Vegas. She was 32 years old and had been staying in the Paradise Inn in Las Vegas up until March of 1991. She had previously been married, but at the time of her death, she was reportedly hitchhiking through Utah to find an ex-boyfriend who worked as a trucker. Witnesses recalled seeing her on April 1st and early April 2nd along I-15. Tragically, on the morning of April 2nd, around like 7 a.m., her body was discovered by a landscaper in a remote area just 2 miles from the highway. She had been shot 6 times in the head with a .22 caliber pistol. It was nude from the waist down. Her clothing was found nearby, inside out, suggesting a struggle or that she had been redressed post-mortem. DNA was collected from her body, but her case remains unsolved.
That's so wild.
Oh, also, I forgot to note, investigators think she was killed about an hour before she was found.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, they were like close.
Yeah. Each of these women, Vicky, Candy, Barbara, and Linda, met violent ends along Utah's highway. Some have names and even identified killers. Others remain enveloped in mystery. But the patterns are undeniable. Isolated dump sites, signs of sexual violence, similar calibers of weapons, and victims who were often transient or traveling alone.
Yeah.
Utah, like Wyoming and Nevada, became a silent witness to these horrors, part of a broader map of fear that defines the Great Basin Murders. So those are all the supposed victims that are typically associated with this case.
And how many is that?
9.
Okay.
So now that we looked at the victims, we're going to talk about some of the men who have been suspected of committing one or several of the Great Basin Murders.
So interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Each has a dark past, a trail of violence, and possible connections to the disturbing pattern we've seen across the western states. And while not all these men have been definitively tied to every victim, the details are chillingly similar. So let's start with Clark Perry Baldwin, born in 1961 in Nashua, Iowa. After graduating high school, Baldwin became a long-haul trucker, traveling extensively across the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. In 1987, he married a woman named Rochelle Bobenmoyer, but their relationship quickly turned violent. Rochelle's daughter from a previous marriage later described Baldwin as abusive, recalling he would beat them and hold their heads underwater in the bathtub.
Oh my God.
Quote, "I only think of him as a monster," she later told reporters. Their marriage ended quickly, and Baldwin's violence didn't stop there. He was charged with raping a 21-year-old woman in Texas, striking her in the head, tying her up, and attempting to choke her.
Jeez.
Although he reportedly confessed, the charges were dropped when the victim didn't appear in court.
Do we know if the victim's still alive?
I do not.
Hmm.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't. No. Over the years, Baldwin racked up more legal trouble, including an arrest in 1997 for counterfeiting. He spent 18 months in jail, then relocated to Virginia, where, to those who knew him, he appeared reformed.
Where in Virginia?
Newport News.
Oh.
He became a taxi driver.
Oh.
Found a woman who, get this, her name was Edwards Huddleston.
Okay.
Yeah. She had a boyfriend and a little baby, and they were down on their luck, and he said, "Hey, you can come live with me." So they did. And she described him as kind and a quiet man who would bring home pizza and watch TV with the family.
Wow, like that makes him sound wholesome.
Yeah, considered him a close friend, even a mentor. Yeah, stark contrast.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Do you think it's because like maybe it was something with like a kid being involved or the husband being there? Because there are some serial killers like BTK, Dennis Rader, where he wouldn't attack a house that had a dog. Like if you had a dog, he wasn't going in there. So
I don't know.
wonder if
I
it's
thought that
something
for a
weird.
second, but nothing ever happened to them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm wondering. Like if it's
Yeah.
because there was a kid, he was like, I'm not going to do anything.
Maybe, but why offer to come live with him?
Yeah, I don't know. That's like such a nice thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, they did it for years.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's so weird.
it's just completely different.
Yeah.
But that image wouldn't last. In 2020, Baldwin's name resurfaced when forensic genealogy linked him to the 1991 murder of Pamela Rose McCall, who had been sexually assaulted and strangled in Tennessee. DNA in her pantyhose led authorities straight to Baldwin. That same year, he was also connected with Bitter Creek Betty and the Sheridan County Jane Doe, two women found murdered in Wyoming in 1992. DNA from both victims matched Baldwin, and in May 2020, he was arrested. This is the one who's still waiting trial.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I will say, when you look at his mugshot, he doesn't look creepy. Like he looks more like the way that the woman in Virginia described him, just like as an old man.
Yeah, just like a dude.
Yeah.
Do his eyes tell a story, or are his eyes normal looking too?
He still looks tired. Well, yeah. I feel like the other two, when you see them, you're like, yeah, you look creepy. You look gross.
Yeah.
But he just looks like a sad old man.
Huh.
So I'm wondering if, like, he really was reformed.
Yeah.
And then this came back later. So I'll have to look into, like, where the case stands. I didn't get a chance to do that. But I can look into that and see, like, what, like, he's pleaded, if he's put in a plea yet, and stuff like that, to kind of see where that's going.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
That can be one of our, like, state updates.
Yeah. Though he hasn't been formally charged in any other Great Basin cases, his long-haul trucking roots and violent history suggests he could be responsible for more than what we currently know. Then there's Robert Ben Rhodes, known to many as the truck stop killer.
Oh.
Born in 1945 in Iowa, Rhodes grew up with a military father who was frequently absent and possibly abusive. After a troubled adolescent and a dishonorable discharge from the Marines, Rhodes bounced between jobs and marriages until he became a long-haul trucker in early 1970s. 1972 to be specific. And you know who went missing and was posed in a cross-like manner in 1972? The Star Valley Jane Doe from Nevada. Just saying.
I think Mackenzie might have started to crack this case. He did spend 3 weeks on it.
Right. He operated under the radar for years until April 1990 when a police officer in Arizona came across his truck parked with his hazards lights on.
Hazard lights.
Parked with his
hazard lights.
With its hazard lights on. Jesus Christ. Inside, chained naked in the back of the cab, was a
Oh.
mentally unstable woman wearing only lion slippers. It's unclear if she became mentally unstable after being held captive or if she already was prior to captivity.
My goodness.
Though Rhodes tried to convince police the encounter was consensual, he was arrested and convicted for assault and unlawful imprisonment. And the arrest would blow the lid off a series of horrifying crimes. Authorities searched his home and found a disturbing photo of a teenage girl, later identified as Regina K. Walters, a 14-year-old who had run away with her boyfriend.
Oof.
They had been hitchhiking when they were picked up by Rhodes. He killed the boyfriend almost immediately, dumping him in Mississippi. He held Regina captive for weeks, forcing her to wear a black dress and heels, shaving her head and body, and ultimately strangling her with a garrote.
Oh my God.
Her body was found in an abandoned barn in Illinois. Rhodes had even taunted her father with cryptic phone calls. In 1994, Rhodes was convicted of Regina's murder, but he wasn't done. DNA and photos found in his home later linked him to Patricia Candy Walsh and her husband Douglas, the newlywed couple who were hitchhiking to a religious convention. Zykowski was found murdered in Texas, while Walsh's body was discovered months later in Utah. Like Regina, she had been held captive, assaulted, and murdered. Though Rhodes has only been convicted of 3 murders, authorities believe he could be connected to as many as 50 disappearances.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the long haul. That's the
trucker.
word, long haul trucker.
Yeah, or truck stop killer. So
you just kind of come upon all these opportunities.
But yeah, 1972, Star Valley Jane Doe was found in July.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, I'm just double checking, she was shot, posed in a cross-like manner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, just saying, but I digress. I guess I'm not, the professional. And finally, there's Dale Wayne Eaton, born in 1945 and raised under brutal conditions as the eldest of 8 children. Eaton suffered severe physical abuse from his alcoholic father and endured emotional trauma that followed him into adulthood. His mom and him were basically committed to psychiatric hospitals the same time.
That's sad.
Yeah. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He was diagnosed with depression and unstable, and being emotionally unstable. And I think he was 16, and then he bounced around to facilities after that.
Yeah.
But he blamed himself for his mom's condition.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. He thought his mom hung the moon. So
again, we can be sad for the kid, but not the killer.
Correct. After bouncing in and out of correctional institutions, Eaton tried to rebuild his life, joining a welding union, attending church, and even getting married. But that too spiraled into chaos. I don't think he was ever abusive, but he turned into his dad in the way of couldn't hold down a job, was, bouncing around, didn't have a steady paycheck, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it didn't say he was abusive, but it did say he turned into his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved to Wyoming and lived off-grid in an old bus on a property with no electricity or running water.
Gross.
By the late 80s, he was jobless, broke, and growing more unstable. Eaton hardly ever bathed and only ate venison that he caught. He would throw it into an unwashed pan and eat it with his hands. His only time bathing would be on the occasions that he would take his car in to get washed.
Was it like a self-car wash?
I don't know, but I guess kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Taking it very literally if it's a self-car wash.
Yeah. In 1987, one of Eaton's brothers asked him for money, but Eaton did not lend him any, and his brother died by suicide using carbon dioxide poisoning.
Oh my God.
Eaton, of course, blamed himself. In 1988, he lost his welding truck and equipment, destroyed his credit, and couldn't hold a steady job. He became transient and would sometimes travel as far as Nevada for a romantic relationship with a woman who referred to him as Junkyard Dale because he was dirty.
Ew. Why? Okay. Why would you want to be with someone who has that nickname because they're dirty?
Did you notice that I put romantic relationship in quotes?
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Okay.
But still.
On April 2nd, it should be noted that on April 2nd, 1988, Kimmel's body was found in the North Platte River.
Okay.
From 1997 and onward, he was in and out of psychiatric hospitals and was frequently under evaluation. He was in prison in 2002 in Colorado for a felony charge, and because his DNA was put into the system, investigators were able to make a match to the DNA found on Lisa Marie Kimmel.
Oh my gosh.
In 2003, Eaton was charged with the murder of Lisa Marie Kimmel, the young woman who personalized her license plate Little Miss.
Oh, yeah.
She had vanished during a road trip in 1988. DNA evidence from her body eventually matched Eaton. Police later found parts of Lisa's... So, I know the first time around, I think I said, her car was buried there. It was parts of her car.
Oh.
Not the whole car.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, which makes a little bit more sense for burying parts of a car instead of an entire car.
Yeah. But also so much creepier. When you said the whole car, I just pictured like 6 foot by 6 foot hole with just like the car in it.
That'd be crazy. So there were two theories that emerged about what possibly happened. One came from a fellow inmate who claimed Eaton confessed that Lisa had picked him up while hitchhiking and things turned violent after she rejected his advances. Doubtful. The second version comes from Eaton himself, who told a psychiatrist that he found Lisa's car parked on his land and assumed someone was trying to rob him. And so he kidnapped her and held her for hostage over Easter weekend because he didn't want to be alone on Easter. And then he murdered her.
Yeah.
That one sounds more plausible.
The second part of it sounds more plausible.
Oh, yeah, the second part.
The first part of it just sounds really stupid.
Correct. But Lisa might not have been his only victim. Do you remember Amy Betchel? She disappeared in Wyoming. She's never been found.
Oh,
And they suspect her husband.
She's the only body that hasn't been found, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And that some believe that investigators focused a little too closely on the husband.
On the husband, yeah.
And possibly ignored other leads.
Yes, I do.
Eaton's own brother once called authorities to report that he believed Dale was responsible for the disappearance of Amy Betchel.
That's just like so creepy. I can't imagine.
Richard Eaton had called authorities to say that he believed that Dale was responsible for the murder of Amy because the young woman vanished while running in the same area where Eaton had been camping. The tip was ignored because investigators believed Richard only wanted the reward money for the information.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's put up a reward. When someone calls for it, we're not going to take the tip because we think they only want the reward.
Yeah.
Look into the damn tip.
Right. It wasn't until 2004, after Eaton's conviction for the murder of Kimmel, that authorities reopened the case, but Eaton refused to speak about Amy's case to this day.
Wow.
Each of these men, Baldwin, Rhodes, and Eaton, has a long, dark past filled with violence, control, and exploitation. Their confirmed victims span state lines and decades. While their trails don't all intersect perfectly, the patterns are hard to ignore. Long-haul trucking routes, remote dump sites, young women traveling alone, and bodies left nude, posed, or discarded near highways. It's a mosaic of horror that continues to haunt the American West. The question remains, were these men acting independently, or is there still someone out there who hasn't been caught? So we have a couple honorable mentions for suspects.
Oh, geez.
One of the early suspects in the case was a man named Scott William Cox. In early 1992, Cox, a 28-year-old truck driver from Portland, Oregon, came into the investigators' radar. Just months earlier, he had been arrested for the murders of two women, both sex workers in the Portland area, killed in 1990 and 1991. Cox had been on the road for years, traveling all over the country in his rig, and he was reportedly spotted in several states where women had gone missing or been found murdered. In fact, authorities suspected he may have been responsible for up to 20 killings, including the murder of one victim, Vicki Lynn Perkins, who was also from Portland, who we talked about was found missing in Utah.
Yeah.
Found dead in Utah.
Yeah.
The task force dug into his travel logs, credit card records, and even contacted motels he had stayed at looking for any connection to the Great Basin murders. But in the end, they couldn't find anything solid linking him to those cases.
Ugh.
Then in 1995, another name surfaced. Keith Hunter Jesperson, also known as the Happy Face Killer.
Oh, I didn't know we had figured him out yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Jesperson was already a known serial killer responsible for at least 8 murders between 1990 and 1995, spanning 5 different states. Some of those states overlapped with the areas where Great Basin victims had been discovered, which naturally made him a person of interest.
Right.
But after investigators took a closer look, Jesperson was eventually ruled out as a suspect. In conclusion, as we close out this final chapter in our series on the Great Basin murders, we're left with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
We've traced a trail of tragedy through Wyoming, Nevada, and Utah, states bound not just by geography, but by eerily similar stories of young women whose lives were violently stolen. Some have names, some don't. Some have confirmed killers, others are still waiting for justice. The suspects we covered today, Clark Perry Baldwin, Robert Ben Rhodes, and Dale Wayne Eaton, each represent a terrifying possibility that multiple predators may have been operating across the same desolate highways, preying on vulnerable women and leaving heartbreak in their wake. And while forensic advancements have finally begun to shed light on some of these cases, so many still remained unsolved and families and loved ones left in the dark. The Great Basin is a vast and lonely place. It's easy to get lost out there in both a literal and metaphorical sense. But these women deserve to be remembered not just as victims, but as people who mattered. Our hope is that by telling their stories, someone listening might remember something, or that their cases will one day be revisited with fresh eyes, new technology, and renewed determination. Hopefully one day justice will be served for all of these women. And that is the mystery of the Great Basin Murders.
It's like there's so much information out there, but we still don't know who it is.
Yeah. I think some of the suspects can be linked to more than one of the cases.
Yeah, I don't feel like all of them are linked.
Correct.
Like
I
by
feel
the
the
same
same
person.
way. I feel the same way. I feel like it happenstance. There happened to be multiple predators
Mm-hmm.
in the area, especially because some of them were like put away in jail and stuff like that, or like
Right.
in a different place when some of them happened. So it's like, okay, well, that couldn't be it.
And I mean, we talked about it in your last two, and then also in mine last week for Nevada, that the Great Basin is such a desolate,
Yeah, it's
empty
huge.
area
Yeah,
that it's not hard to hide someone there or to,
absolutely.
like, as you said, it's like a dumping spot.
Yeah.
And
And
it's well known that it's a dumping spot too. Like I found that in my research.
right. And it's not far-fetched to think that there could be people operating at the same time.
Right.
I think it was Southern California at one point had like 3 serial killers operating in the same area.
Right. Right.
Like the Night Stalker and then
Golden State Killer.
Golden State Killer and Ed Edwards, or what, that guy, I think. No, Ed Kemper, I think was also at the same time. Something like that. I know there
70s
was
was a
3
wild time.
happening at once.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, so it very well could be that there's just different ones operating and they just know, hey, the Great Basin Desert
Yeah.
is like a great place to drop people.
yeah, and if they're already transient as it is, hitchhiking, things like that,
Right.
you know, even the people who their loved ones knew they were traveling still were lost.
Yeah.
So,
Well, nice job covering it over 3 states.
thanks. I feel like there's so much I'm missing.
I mean, probably, but honestly, with how many people there are and everything, this could probably be its own podcast.
Yeah.
So there's no way you could cover everything.
Yeah. So,
I think you did a great job with what you did cover, though.
thank you. I appreciate that.
How was doing it every 3 weeks?
It was nice. It definitely cut down on some research time because I already had so much to
Right.
start.
Yeah.
And so it really only was like looking for an additional few pieces. I found a really great video that gave me so much information. So a lot
Ooh.
of it's from that.
Okay.
Um,
Again, all this will be in our show notes.
Yep. Wikipedia was great.
I love Wikipedia.
Yeah. I would have liked to have a little bit more time to look into each individual person and see if there was anything more I could find that wasn't mentioned, because all the things that I really looked at were kind of more of like, here's a general overview of the things that happened instead of focusing specifically on one person.
Right.
So I'm sure there's things that like I left out, but it's interesting because the video versus like Wikipedia or other sources, they don't necessarily connect some of the same victims.
Oh.
And so like the Star Valley Jane Doe, who was also posed, but is not considered part of the Great Basin Murders, but Rhodes's victims, at least the few that we know of, were posed.
Interesting.
You'd think.
Because you're also coming at it when you're reading different things, it's coming at it from different people's perspectives.
Right.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And because they're not all related. Like there's no way.
Right.
So it is interesting for how people are like relating them.
Yes. And then it's interesting how they're deciding not to relate them either.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sticking with us for 3 episodes.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, maybe we'll do it more.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rate and review us, all the same stuff.
As always,
And I guess stay scary.
and stay safe.